Don't let them see a hint of fear. Blinds and doors, zoom in, zoom out. Open your window, let them hear you shout. Right on the poles, right on the street. Always remember the future is near. Cut some cords, scratch some scars. Put on your cape and jump from the car. Open your mouth, take a deep breath. Run fast and don't stop at the edge. You can be anything you want. You can be everything you choose. Do not let it slip away. 'Cause if you never try it, you never know. You can be anything you want. You can be everything you choose. Do not let it slip away.
Emily, you got in. How was the trip?
It's good. It was uneventful for once.
Did you come with Pat?
Yeah, we did.
Good. Hate flying, so glad to get that out of the way. Like, got on 2 days ago. Busted all the things, groceries, all that, and today we check in, chill out a little bit.
So more anxious about the flight or the workouts?
Yeah, the flight, absolutely. Yes.
Oh yeah, super easy. I got here Tuesday.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Did you get some workouts in?
Yeah. To Wednesday. I trained Tuesday, trained Wednesday, and then just chilled and hung out. Yeah.
So Logan just got his belt. Two-pood, semifinalist. Dude, you're here. And you didn't have to beg and plead to get in this year?
Nope. I just let my fitness do it this year.
Does it ever get old? No, never. It's always like the first time every time, I think.
Still get the jitters?
Yes.
Are those good jitters?
Yeah, very. It's more, I think it's more like excited than nervous. So I like it.
So we've documented that this season you've had a couple hiccups along the way with visas and all of that kind of stuff. All that's behind you.
Yeah.
So how much at ease are you now in the last couple months leading up to this in your training?
I feel really good. I feel like I'm just at a good spot with training and our preparation and all of the stress that was kind of going around during the opening quarterfinals. That's all behind us. And I feel like we've just prepared really, really well for this. So I feel calm, I feel relaxed, I'm excited.
This, you got to see everything in Orlando last week.
Yeah.
Does that help?
Yeah, I think it helps. You kind of just get to like see some time, see how it looks on the floor, see how things play out. I think it's helpful.
No, it was just nice to see all the little questions we had, what the sled would be, maybe like trying to wonder would that be metal or whatever equipment we'd use. The pirouette, just all the little details we're all wondering. It's kind of nice to see, okay, that's what we got to do. Let's kind of just touch it up a little bit and just get to it.
Yeah, I think everyone did. I think we learned the sled's going to be heavier than we thought, and there wasn't much to learn really, but a couple little things that were useful to watch.
And then one, just seeing the sled, I think it's going to be more of a sled workout. I practiced it as if it was going to be a big endurance workout. I think changing up a little bit of the speed you go on that bike, I think is going to be important. But I love to run, so that will be an area that you still are going to spend the most time. So I'm looking forward to that one. Yeah, that's really the only one that's totally different. The muscle up one, having to do the pistols on one leg, 5 unbroken. We didn't practice that way, but I think it's a fun little change. It might slow some things down, which isn't the worst thing either, but I think it'll be a good weekend.
So the muscle up caused some people problems last week.
Yeah.
You good with that?
I think so. We practiced with a weight in our backpack, like a 10-pound weight. So I don't know how different theirs will feel. We also didn't have a strap, so we created our own with a band. So ours is pretty bootleg. So I'm hoping that maybe it'll feel better than it did in practice. Yeah.
Awesome.
Does the fact that you can break that complex
help? Yeah, I think so. Especially if you can just get a toe to ring in.
Yep.
And then all you have to do is kind of pop up into that muscle up. So it is a little bit of strategy there. And I don't think there's anything wrong with breaking the complex just in general to have enough energy to really send it. There was a part of me before I found out if you had to not take any of the rounds off. There was kind of part of me that was like, maybe I'll ball out round 1 and 3 and just chill for 5 minutes in between, but I think I'll get kicked out of the competition. But
You've been training with Roman, and how much that's improved your fitness this year. You saw him go last week. Did you get any feedback in Russian?
The main thing that we've been hearing, not just from him, but from everybody, is that first test is not a cardio test anymore. It's like, it went from an aerobic to an anaerobic test. It's all about the sled pulls, which kind of sucks because I was looking forward to the run. Like we did it on the turf. I did 6 plates on a dog sled, so it's essentially 8 plates, and we did it as three pulls each time, and I was like 19 minutes, like 19:20, and I did the run in like 6:32, so I was like, let's do this thing. And then now it's like, yeah, it doesn't matter what you do on that actually, just as long as you can pull the sled that's on a piece of napkin, you can pull that well, you'll do well.
Yeah, I got lots of intel from Tori and Logan. I had 2 girls that I trained with compete last weekend, so getting to watch them and then getting to also like train the workouts with them together when we were like all prepping for it, so that was really helpful. And
Are you ready to get event 1 out of the way?
out of the way, maybe. I'm really excited for it though, actually.
Feeling good, man. I'm ready for that first workout. Love my machines, and then just have fun with the rope. I'm ready to get that first one on.
You are the first person to say have fun with the rope.
Really? Well, that's what it is. We got to do it, and I don't know. I'm looking forward to it. So
Is number 1 your most? Is that your
It's like-
favorite of the weekend, or no?
Ooh, is it my favorite? Let's see. Let me think of it real quick. No, I think I'm pretty excited for the last one. I think it's a good one for me too. So, yeah.
The notorious thing is day 1, Emily
Yeah.
gives Kyle cardiac arrest.
Yeah, I dig myself in a little bit of a hole, and then
Looking at the first 2 events, you think you're good?
I think event 1 it's good for me. Event 2 is we'll see. I mean, it's kind of nobody knows exactly how it's going to feel. I think because things are different here than they were at home. So
Yeah.
we'll see. But
This is your first time back as an individual in 5 years.
yeah.
Jitters?
Good jitters, yeah. I'd have anxiety if I didn't have anxiety, so yeah, all good things. I'm just trying to be super present this weekend, and I don't know how many years I have left in this body, so yeah, just trying to enjoy it all. I don't want to wish it away.
Especially because then you know, even something as small as how you're pulling on the Echo Bike handles, like now it's going to be more of a push than push and pull on the handles, so you can save that grip. And then when you're running, you're just going to be basically doing that full time, shaking your arms out, and then ski probably 5 to 10 seconds slower pace.
So your dad's your coach this weekend?
Sure is.
And he keeps it loose, right?
No, we're the same. We both aren't very social. We're all business all the time.
Is that what you need in the back? Someone to joke around with?
Yeah.
Yeah. So tomorrow, jitters already, or are you going to wait till tomorrow to kind of ramp those up?
Not really right now. I was surprised, but I think it's because it's kind of like this doesn't feel like a big deal. It's super quick check-ins. Like, yeah. I'm sure once we're gonna go watch the teams. We have a buddy on one of the teams, and so once we go watch that, I'm sure it'll hit a little bit.
All right, Tristan, you're here coaching your first individual athletes at semifinals. Any jitters?
For sure. I think I'm more nervous for them to be out like competing and doing the thing than I am for me to warm them up and talk to them and cool them down. You know what I mean? Like a lot of my job transitions now to talking them through things, making sure everything like in the back is fine and all that, and they just go do what they trained to do on the floor. So
How confident are you now seeing the events in Orlando with the training that you've done the past few months?
really confident. Pretty confident.
I like that answer.
Do you find you have to be more of like a mental coach out there for them, or?
For sure. Yeah, I think I was talking to my fiance the other day. My job over the last week and obviously through the weekend transitions way more from programmer, rep scheme guy to part-time shrink.
Yeah,
right?
like, for sure, right?
Yeah, so it's just keeping them mellow. Like, obviously we need to be at the highest level on when they're on the floor, but then we need to come down from that and relax and keep them out of their own heads, thinking about the events all day, and just chill and kind of be a friendly face, not so much like the numbers guy all the time. There's a time and a place for that, but it's a long weekend, and we need to be even.
You excited to get that first one out of the way?
Absolutely. My team just got their first one out of the way. Went really well, so got that one done, and ready for the Indies to start tomorrow.
Workout 1 was 4-time 3,000 meter echo bike, hand over hand pool 84 feet, 2,000 meter assault air runner, hand over hand pool 84 feet, 1,000 meter ski erg, hand over hand pool 92 feet. Time cap 30 minutes.
After watching week 1, I don't think it changed anything, except we saw how heavy the sled was going to be, or how sticky, hard to move it was going to be.
It was a little more sled than anything else. I would have liked for it to have been more of a run workout.
To be honest, I wish I didn't see week 1 go, especially after hearing people get interviewed. A lot of their strategy went from, kind of laying off the machines a little bit to save yourself a little bit more for the sled.
I look at that event and I'm like, there it is. There's my jam. Like machines and a little bit of heavy weight thrown in there. All right. Like I was looking forward to it. I remember in the back room, a lot of guys were, even in the warm up or the day before, were like, man, that they're afraid of the pull of the pull. And I'm like, hey man, it is what it is. Let's go get after it. Like I was excited for that.
You know me, I love the cardio machines. It was just the sled pull was still the unknown, because it's like, okay, it looked hard, but I don't know how it's going to pull. And I mean, in training, I practiced. Did I practice like with the men's weight or more than the men's weight? Like I loaded the sled really heavy. And so I feel like I kind of got what it was going to feel like.
And so going in, knowing that this is a good event for me, and obviously we go through the event and you're hearing a lot of, right, this is a big man workout, because machines and then heavy sled. And in my mind, my competitive mind is like, F that, I don't care. Like I'm not the biggest guy out there, but I'm still, when it comes to machines and fitness, like I'm fitter than almost all these guys. And so I'm still going to go take it. And then, but then that sled comes and it has another thing in mind for you.
And I think I just got a little bit behind on the machines. Like I took that a little bit too much to heart. I remember being on the bike at the start and feeling like, oh my gosh, this is feeling so good, and telling myself, lay off a little bit and let's not go too fast right here. And while I got off at the same time as other people, I just felt like that could have been an area, especially the run, that I could have made some room, because the sled was it was going to be what it was. So that's my only regret, is just not kind of pushing the machines a little bit more, because I don't think it made that much of a difference when it came to how the sled was going to move.
Workout 1 results: Emily Rolfe 2nd, Sydney Michalyshen 18th, Kelly Baker 22nd. For the men, Matt Poulin 16th, Logan Ewing, 26th.
So you crushed it out there.
Thank
Event
you.
1. Good start to the weekend.
Yeah, it's like the first event's always so nerve-wracking. So happy that's done.
So you put yourself up near the top right off the bat. It eases a lot of the anxiety.
Yes.
Good start to the weekend, man.
Thank you. Thank you.
Little friend long.
Yeah, surprisingly, yeah. Oh, golly, I'm pretty lit up right now.
So you told me coming in, machines are your gig. You like this one. You killed the sled pool. You caught some people in that last
I didn't feel
round.
like it. I thought, that's good. Well, at least that happened. That sled snuck up on me a little bit, but I guess I stuck with it, so it don't matter. It's over, it is what it is. I did my best because I was hurting at the end. I'd like to move the sled a little better, but yeah, it is what it is, so on to the next one.
Yeah. You were cruising on that skier. I was trying to make up as much time as I could. Just fell into a groove and tried to get it done. Very close. How did that go pace-wise from what maybe you expected? It felt very similar to what I thought. So yeah, felt like executed it very well.
So that's my only regret, is just not kind of pushing the machines a little bit more, because I don't think it made that much of a difference when it came to how the sled was going to move. But yeah, I kind of just wish I went for it a little bit more there on the machines and just hope to have enough to hang on.
After event 1, you take 22nd. Do you look at the leaderboard? Do you know where you stand?
Yeah, I didn't know it was that bad when I finished. To be honest, I just felt like a rookie, like that first event too. I wasn't aware of that the time was even going to cap. The clock was a little bit behind me to the right, so I couldn't see it on my last pool. And I just should have been so aware that every tick is going to count right now, because you're probably not going to finish.
Event 1 was okay. First sled was slow, but then I think I picked it up from there. So I think really the only thing I could have done different is maybe just a little bit faster on the sled, because I ran and I skied as fast as I was going to be able to, and I'm pretty good on those two things. So I wasn't mad about that event. That one was okay. I wanted to do better on it. Wasn't set up to do as good as I maybe thought I could when I initially saw it.
Like Kyle taught me a good technique to use, and I was pretty confident going in that that the workout was going to be good for me. I knew that.
Did you know it was going to be a second place?
I thought it was going to be a first place. So
Workout 2 was as many reps as possible in 3 minutes of 5 ring complex, 1 toe to ring, 1 muscle up, 1 ring dip, 20 single leg squats, max burpees over box. Complete 3 rounds, resting 1 minute between rounds. Score is total burpees over the box across 3 rounds.
All right, you ready for event 2?
I'm gonna go chill out for a bit, but yes.
What would you get to do to recover?
Probably slip into some compression legs. And then I got my PT people at Move OKC here, so I'll probably work on some things.
All right, man, go get them.
I'm just gonna go chill out my grip for a bit, and then go back to the hotel, get some food. I'll be back.
Initial thoughts going in, I practiced this workout a whole bunch. I really liked it. My only area that I was a little worried about were the dips, but I had a good breakup strategy, so I felt pretty solid going into it, just with like my game plan and how I practiced it.
Event 2 I knew was not good for me, so the ruck muscle ups are amazing for me. The burpee box jump overs are good for me, but I can't really do pistols right now just because of my knee injury that I had at Zalos, and I knew going into it that pistols, I can get through regular pistols. It hurts, but I can get through it. So when they announced ruck pistols, I was like, uh-oh, this is not going to go well.
To be honest, I was kind of happy that they had it. Anything that they can do gymnastics-wise that puts a little bit more of a challenge onto it, I feel like I can adjust well, but it puts me at more of a playing like a fair playing field with other people. So for instance, if there's going to be muscle ups, I'd prefer them to be strict muscle ups. If there were going to be handstand push-ups, I want it to be strict handstand push-ups or with a weight vest, just to kind of keep the gymnasts a little more on my playing field. No one's going to go too fast.
Once again, that's a workout, right? When it's released, I saw it and I'm like, oh, great. Gymnastics. Like, I was working hard on my gymnastics. Me and Elle were doing a lot of gymnastics. Not that I was bad at them, but just we knew they were going to be there. And so I saw on paper, I'm like, oh, this is my jam. Like a little bit gymnastics into pistols. It is what it is. And then just max burpees. Like that's another wheelhouse for me.
So the muscle ups with the rucksack were hard. But in practice, I did okay. So I was like, I just got to get through those. I warmed them up. They were okay. I was feeling like I knew I wasn't going to win that workout. But I figured it was at least a top 20, maybe a top 15 kind of workout. And
Workout 2 results. Kelly Baker 15th, Sydney Michalyshen 16th, Emily Rolfe 30th. For the men, Logan Ewing 45th, Matt Poulin 48th. Event standings after 2 workouts. Emily Rolfe 5th, Sydney Michalyshen 11th, Kelly Baker 15th, Matt Poulin 28th, Logan Ewing 36th.
Being a pretty good athlete kind of hurts you. Like just the way that points are spread. Obviously, it's enough to get me to the games, but you know, the getting like 2/15ths or something like that, you're better off getting a first and a 40th. And it's like, damn, I'm not that great at anything, but I'm also not that terrible at anything. I thought I was going to have a good event 1. And then I was like, okay, I'll damage control event 2. And then I just kind of said, but when I saw it did help watching week 1 go and knowing, okay, there's some girls that made it and they had some really big kind of hiccups throughout the weekend. So I just kind of told myself, like, let's just keep trying to get a better place than you got the event before. And I think you'll be able to shave off five spots.
Guess I wasn't like too discouraged, I guess. I knew it wasn't going to go good on the floor, and on the pistol specifically. So I was always the first one off the rings. And then it's like, I know that these guys are going to pass me. I'm just going to try to get as many reps as I possibly can in the limited amount of time that I'm going to give myself to do them. So it went exactly how I thought it was going to go. And I wasn't too upset after it. Really, I was just glad to get it over with, honestly, because I knew that one was going to, 1, not be good for me, and 2, it was going to hurt.
I was feeling like I knew I wasn't going to win that workout. But I figured it was at least a top 20, maybe a top 15 kind of workout. And you know, I got no repped a few times on the dip, which I'm sure it happened to other girls too, but it was kind of like you'd muscle up, then dip, then come down, and then they would call your no rep on the dip. I guess, I don't know the standard. I guess the shoulders had to be below the elbow. But by the time you dip, because you're not going to hang out at the top, you know, waiting, time under tension. So by the time you dip and come back down and then they call it, it's like, oh, now I got to re-muscle up. And you do that a few times and, you know, time goes and you're kind of done for that workout, to be honest.
So kind of like a common theme that I now feel going after leaving every event of the weekend wasn't bad, just wasn't great. Kind of, there wasn't really any, and I'm going to say this for like a whole bunch of the workouts, but I just didn't have that third gear. I didn't feel like I had that extra kick. So like nothing went horribly wrong. I just feel like I didn't really have any push. I ended up breaking up the last set of muscle ups a few times just because my dip reps were getting a little sketchy and I had a couple sets of eyes on me. So I came down and I was like, going to make sure I get those reps. But the game plan went solid. I just didn't feel like I had too much push on the burpees. So it was just kind of like, okay.
Yes, but I kind of knew in the middle of that workout that my weekend was over. I get through the first round, not as quick on the complex as all the other guys. I'm like, okay, that's fine. But it was just so disappointing because, like, I think I was one of the last guys to get to the box, but I busted out like top third or fourth of the burpees. Like, I knew if I got to the burpees, I was going to beat these guys. Like, because I think I finished the first round like 17, and I forgot who's in my heat. Maybe it was Colton or something. But they got to there significantly earlier than me, like 10, 15 seconds. Yeah, 10 seconds. And we're busted out like 19 or 20. And so, like, my burpees were fast, and I knew they were. But then that second set comes, and I just fail. I just can't do the muscle up. And I'm just sitting there looking at the rings, and I found Abigail in the stands. I was actually pretty good at finding them in the stands throughout the weekend. And I look at her, and I'm just looking at the rings, and I'm like, in my mind, I'm like, it's over. Like, I don't know what happened. Like, this was supposed to be a good workout for me, and it's not like I'm not trying. I tried, and I just couldn't get past the complex. So that kind of sucked. That kind of was not ideal whatsoever. Like, I'm trying. Yeah, I haven't thought about that really since, but I remember sitting there being like, I blew it right here. Second event, it's over.
Workout 3 was semifinals Linda. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Reps of deadlift, dumbbell bench press, squat cleans. Time cap, 17 minutes.
Once again, I felt pretty dang good about all the workouts, other than the one hiccup I knew I was going to have was the max snatch. Like, everything else, I was like, okay, like, I got this. Like, I felt pretty damn good other than the max snatch. So I'm thinking in my head, right? Oh, we're going to do really well. There's our one there's your one event you can have where you kind of have a hiccup. So, like, once again, I guess going back to expectations, we're like, my expectation is to finish. Like, I was looking forward to Linda. That was fun. Like, that was a fun one. And I knew that strategy on that's so funny. Like, you think the things that matter don't matter, and vice versa. And so, like, I felt pretty good because I knew I could squat clean pretty fast and, like, not affect me. So I'm thinking, okay, there's my edge. Like, I can bust through these squat cleans. Like, I was debating whether touching going on like the round of 6 or 7, because I'm like, I can do that, and that does not affect me too much. And obviously, I guess no surprise, everyone was saying it's all on the bench. And I've never been a strong bencher, even if, like, before my CrossFit days.
Yeah, so I knew Saturday would be the day for me. I knew it would be a tough day. Just the nature of the workouts. And Linda, obviously, I was quite nervous about. And like I said before, ended up doing okay. And I was quite proud at the end of Linda. Like, that was probably my most proudest event, to be honest.
I liked it.
I did it with Roman and Victoria, and I was super happy with my time when I did it in testing. Bench press has been something I've worked on. And then obviously just strength in general. My deadlift has always been good. And then for that matter, like my power clean's always been good. And obviously the clean really didn't matter in that workout. I have gotten pretty good at barbell cycling. That's what it was. It was quick singles on the barbell. So I was happy about that.
And my goal was to go unbroken on the bench press the entire time. I did it pretty easily at practice.
Okay, yeah. I was very excited going into Linda. I really liked it when I tested it. I had like a solid game plan and I was feeling good. So was just going to like replicate that. And then this was one of the workouts that I knew that I could run the race in. So if other girls were pushing at certain points, I knew that I could follow along. So I had a game plan, and then I was very open to running the race on the back half of this one. So that was kind of like where my head was at.
Workout 3 results. Sydney Michalyshen 7th, Kelly Baker 18th, Emily Rolfe 19th. For the men, Matt Poulin 32nd, Logan Ewing 51st. Event standings after 3 events: Sydney Michalyshen 9th, Emily Rolfe 11th, Kelly Baker 14th, Matt Poulin 32nd, Logan Ewing 44th. Workout 4 was 4 load, 800 meter assault air runner, max snatch. Time cap 6 minutes. Following the time cap, athletes will have 2 minutes to reset for test 5. Workout 5, 4 time, 8 snatches, 800 meter assault air runner. Time cap 6 minutes.
Initial thoughts going in, my plan was I was really hoping to get close to the 195 snatch. My warm-ups felt pretty good. I had tested them and I was hitting 185 in practice, and I was like, okay, like I'm going to be able to, with the jumps that I was going to make, be able to hit a solid lift. And I knew the runs weren't going to be great for me, but I was just kind of focused on like getting through them, and they were going to be what they were going to be. So that was kind of where I was at.
Well, it was a little different. Like my thoughts, I was in good spirits the whole time I was there. Saturday, which is what day we're talking about, was the toughest day though, just because the whole night before I was up throwing up, just super sick. I don't know what happened to me. It had to have just been something I ate, because it was gone midway through Sunday. But I was cramping up bad, and So in between those two events, I just went home or went back to the Airbnb and just tried to recoup. And I felt like I did, and got out on the floor and I felt good.
I wish it was a foot race, to be honest. That would have been the only thing that would have helped me out a little bit more. But yeah, I knew those two events would be good for me. And when I found out that I moved up a place, I just told myself, like, all right, we need to really take risks this next one.
I knew that if I lift what I should, I'll still be in the lower third, but maybe not as detrimental. And I was a little bit after event 4. I mean, what did we have? Like 2 minutes to regroup. It was very mixed emotions. It was terrible. I wanted to cry, but I was like, I also felt really angry and aggressive for the next workout. So it was like, I just had to try to channel that as best I could and run my little heart out.
I've seen Max Snatch. It's like some gleaming hope you had was like, oh, hey, you got to run before you snatch under high heart. Even if you weren't running too fast, your heart rate's a little bit up there. And then going into the run, knowing that, okay, this is the one I gotta take. Like me and Elle were working a lot on like power, because that's always been a weakness of mine. It's a power, and where 185 touch and going in the past would be kind of difficult for me, especially in the snatch. And to where we got to a point where I was feeling, not in the workout, but even in training, like I was repping at 185, like felt good. And so I was like, I felt really good about that event.
Bring the band in. Woo. Well, all right. Yeah, they want me to fit in, but I can't. I'm too different with it. Too advanced to think. You know my intuition. I got bars and ink, but never in a prison. Too far gone, never gonna sit and listen. This is optimism mixed with the best. You get it? What you're seeing is a beast in the flesh. I'm vetted up. I don't need to try to speak for the rest. Always keep it abrupt. They want to keep it a mess, This is what you get when you're sitting as a vet. But everybody know that you're a threat. With the rest, let's go. We won't fit in our box. We don't quit, we won't stop. Ride us hard to the top. We won't fit in your, we won't fit in your, we won't fit in your box. No, we don't quit, we won't stop. No, ride us hard to the top. We won't fit in your box. No.
Workout 4 results. Kelly Baker 12th, Sydney Michalyshen 20th, Emily Rolfe 41st. For the men, Logan Ewing 31st, Matt Poulin 41st. Workout 5 results. Emily Rolfe 3rd, Kelly Baker 5th, Sydney Michalyshen 37th. For the men, Matt Poulin 8th, Logan Ewing 34th. Event standings after 5 events. Kelly Baker 8th, Emily Rolfe 13th, Sydney Michalyshen 18th, Matt Poulin 27th, Logan Ewing 41st.
So we're with Kelly Baker after event 4 and 5. So how did that go for you? 190 snatch?
Hi, one rep is 196, but I think I paced the first run too much. I just didn't give myself enough time. I would have loved to have went for a PR in front of a crowd, but I'm happy with 190. That was I felt confident in that going into it. And
it seems to be in the upper level of finishes.
Yeah. Some of these girls are so strong. It's so inspiring. Like in our heat, I think a couple girls hit 200 or plus. So, I mean, I'm just grateful to be here.
Yeah. How did the run go?
Good. I think I'm sitting in second right now. Like coach said, it's my favorite thing to do. I've done a few marathons.
I think you're in the heat of runners.
Yeah. So in my mind, I was like, 800 is so much less than a marathon. You got that. But no, she had a great push. I'm grateful she was in my heat, and I gave everything I had.
So which I botched. So I went out, made my opener easy, and then missed every single lift after that. It's just, that was definitely the low point of the weekend. And like I say, we know it wasn't going to be a good event for me. We know that, but I definitely could have mitigated the damage a lot more than what happened. And that was frustrating. And it was just, it's a high pressure event. It's very technical, and the time, we didn't have a lot of time. So you had to game it well, and you had to be calm. And, the more lifts that I missed, the more kind of panicked I got. And I remember just looking at the time, and it was like 5 something already. And I was like, what? Like, I have like 45 more seconds, and missed a couple more. And I think I talked to Alex Gazan after, and the exact same thing happened to her. We both, hit our openers and then nothing else. And it was just, it's unfortunate, but don't want to feel like that again. That's for sure. I was stunned because the worst possible thing had kind of just happened. I honestly felt like I just screwed up my whole weekend with that event, and I thought I'd kissed my games ticket goodbye. And it was like, it was a bad feeling. It was really bad.
You were leaving nothing out there. You were emptying the tank on that.
Yeah, I mean, I no choice at that point. There was like, I just, made my bed. So
I ended up PRing my snatch on that, and I was freaking pumped. Like, I knew it wasn't not even close to the top, but I was like, at the last minute, the buzzer, was able to PR my snatch in the past few years. And so I'm like, so that got me fired up. I'm like, hey, that's what I can't ask for any more than that. Obviously, if I could touch and go a little bit faster, it would have helped me. I think one thing I didn't take advantage of in the moment, looking back on video and looking at other guys, was that I didn't maximize my push off on the runner as much as others did. And maybe if you got to the point of maybe it was a little too much at times, it depends. But like, I think looking back, I should have focused on that more rather than, I think a lot of my focus was the snatches, touch and going. Cause once I get to that, I can just run, but I should have been more focused on like how I got to the runner. Cause man, there's some guys you got on them and you could just see they are full force, just like getting that thing ramped up, because we were allowed to do that. And, I was caught like fiddling with my belt a little too much. And so I think if I would have focused on that, I would have taken that heat win and probably even the top. I think I got 7th. I probably would have taken the top 4 or 5.
Afterwards, I was really unhappy with how everything felt. I was hitting weights better in like the warm-up area. I think nothing was really clicking for me on the floor. I hit 185, but I had failed my opener a few times, and it just was not great. So I didn't really have the jumps I wanted to in the lift, but I still knew that like 185 was going to be like fine. Like, it wasn't terrible. It wasn't great. It was just fine. That was kind of the theme of the whole weekend for me. Everything was just fine. Nothing was great. And then the run for the 800 meters was the hardest thing I've ever done in my entire life. That felt way harder than I had ever practiced, and all those things that really caught me off guard. So that one I was not too thrilled with.
The heavy snatch was hard to swallow because that one was on me. I knew in my head I only had time for 3 attempts. And I let it be told to me that I was going to get 4 attempts. So I was going to power my first 2 and then go for it on my next 2. And I hit 230, very easy. I squatted it though. And then I went 250 and it felt light, but I tried to like power it and then just write it down. So I failed it. And then the plan was to go to 270 after 250. But when I failed it, I was like, all right, I need something else. I'm not going for 250 again because that was too easy. So I went 260. It felt super light. So I was thinking in my head, it was going to be after 270, we were going to go either 285, maybe 280, or even really just try to send it, maybe go up. But then I got 260, dropped it, looked at the clock, and I was like, I'm not even going to be able to get the plates on before the clock expires. So that one kind of pissed me off a little bit. I was like, I should have known better than that. But then I was like, it's fine because this next one's for me. This next event, I can win. I did it in training in 302. And in training, I went 5 and 3 on the barbell just to be safe, because sprinting, especially, like, I'm a good runner, but sprinting in particular is more of what I would say I'm good at. Like, when we go out to the track and sprint, I can hold paces that you wouldn't expect from somebody who's not at the games. I can beat pretty much anybody that I know in a sprint. So I hit the snatches. I went all 8, and I was like, all right, I don't know if that was the smartest idea, but I should be fine. I get on the runner, I get going, and nothing's happening. The screen's just blank. It's not turning on. So I'm like, hey, dude, obviously I was not this composed, but I'm yelling at my judge like, hey, dude, it's not turning on. It's not turning on. He said, all right, it's fine, because they're supposed to be counting your white line. So in my head, I'm like, all right, it's going to be fine. He's counting. Finish the event, and I'm like, all right, let's go. So I start to walk back, and then I ask I don't know what you'd call him, but I was like, hey, I need to go appeal that. My judge and I, like, he knows it wasn't turning on. And they're like, okay, well, what was his count? So we go back. He wasn't counting. And they're like, there's nothing we can do, because there was no count. Like, he didn't count how many times the white line passed. It just is what it is at that point. So it was about 15. It felt like a minute of time went by, but it was like 15 to 18 seconds of running with no screen on. So that cost me 15 to 18 seconds minimum. I mean, after that, then I kind of just had to book it and went out way too hard when it finally did turn on. So I don't know, like the home run event quickly turned into a middle of the pack event, and that one was hard to swallow.
Workout 6 was 4-time 20 overhead squats, 500-meter row, 3 handstand walk pirouettes, 2 seated legless rope climbs, 20 strict chest-to-wall handstand push-ups, 2 seated legless rope climbs, 3 handstand walk pirouettes, 500-meter row, 20 overhead squats. Time cap 15 minutes for the men, 16 minutes for the women.
No, it's another like only look back I probably have on the weekend where I'm like, put your blinders up and trust yourself. And I went into that event just saying like, all right, you're in a qualifying position. What we need to do right now is really just do enough to get there.
I just wanted to go out on Sunday. I liked the 2 events. I was like, just send it and go home happy. And I mean, I don't know that I'd say that's what happened. Number 6 was also a very good event for me. I really like those seated legless rope climbs, and then I've gotten pretty good at the wall facing. Overhead squats, if I were to pick a weightlifting movement other than like power cleans, I would probably say overhead squats if we're doing like high rep. I like them a lot, and rowing has always been something I'm good at. So it was a good event for me.
Heavy overhead squats, just something where in it, just through my past injuries, anything overhead has been tough, but we've been working on it a lot where I felt pretty good going in. Like I felt the best probably overhead positioning and stability that I have my whole career.
Yeah.
You know that Sunday is pretty good for you.
Yeah.
But what are your thoughts after Saturday?
It wasn't a nice night. That's for sure. It's just a terrible position to be in. You don't want to be in. Nobody wants to be in that position. And even though knowing, tomorrow's going to be a good event or 2 good events, it wasn't like, oh shoot, tomorrow's 2 tough events for me. I guess that would have felt even worse. But it was a combo of just like stressed and kind of, I just want to go. Like, I hate being in this position. I hate this feeling. I remember Kyle asking me, it was like 10 p.m. I was going to bed, and he's like, given the choice, would you go to bed right now or would you go do the last 2 events? And I was like, I want to go. I want to do these events right now. Like, I want to get out of this position. So, which I think sometimes is a good, sometimes it's a good spot to be in when you just can't wait to go compete.
Did you get any sleep that night?
I didn't feel like it. It felt like, I obviously I did, but you wake up, that's the first thing you think of. You stress about it. You get up to go to the bathroom at 3 a.m. You're up for another hour. It just like,
not a good feeling. Yeah. And I knew some of the girls ahead of me were good heavy hitters, and I knew the rope climbs and the handstand push-ups would bring them down a bit. So it wasn't like I had, all a bunch of ninjas all ahead of me on the leaderboard. Like, they were girls who were strong and big girls. So I knew like what was going to happen, but it's still like, well, anything can happen. Like, I can have a meltdown on the rope, and then, that event might not be good. So
once again, I really liked this one. I did a great practice of it. I was feeling really good about how I broke it up and my strategy when I practiced it. So I was just trying my best to replicate what I did there when I competed it.
Yeah. Let's go. We just gotta go hard. I go the hardest. I bring the pain. Not what you used to. It's all part of the game. Yeah, I just gotta go hard. I just gotta go hard. Go hard. Yeah. Oh yeah, the beast back. Adrenaline pumping through my veins, can't relax. Original, I am not the same as these cats. I sting them if they never ever mind and they beeswax. I don't ever cap, but I'm wearing like 3 hats. Never been a rat, but I know where the cheese at. You'll never get a trophy cause they all here where we at. You better believe that. When it's all said and done, I'll still be here standing. Never took a loss and it ain't something that I'm planning. I dare you to say something. My focus is A1. Every dog has his day, it's been mine since day one. This is real grinding, I'm still climbing. While you still trying, I'm still shining. It's real blinding. And I'm getting hotter too. Talking top 2, I'm not a 2. You let the pressure bother you and I do what I gotta do. Let's go hard. Coming close to me, flow is on atomic. I'm starting fires through poetry. The hardest out, staying loyal, no falling out. And if you step into the court, be ready, we balling out. Yeah, the coldest of teens, they know what we bring. Don't try us, ain't no in between. We go for these dreams in silence. Hard work, don't mistake it for magic. We been shooting in the gym. This is target and practice. Yeah. And I'm just getting started, getting feet wet. It's all in repetition, ain't a secret. All facts, all black dress code. Pay me my respect, collecting every debt. Oh, the hardest.
Workout 6 results. Emily Rolfe 10th, Kelly Baker 11th, Sydney Michalyshen 19th. For the men, Matt Poulin 35th, Logan Ewing 41st. Event standings after 6 events. Kelly Baker 7th, Emily Rolfe 8th, Sydney Michalyshen 16th, Matt Poulin 31st, Logan Ewing 43rd.
Emily, you did everything you needed to do.
So far, still one more.
You confident going into the last event?
Yeah, I love the last event.
Awesome.
It's going to be a dogfight, but I'm
Good
here
luck
for
on
it.
that last one.
No one was making room in the first 2 movements anyway, but overhead squats, got in the rower, everyone was kind of about the same. And then my pirouettes went really well. I did it as planned. And then it was kind of where people got bottlenecked. But again, I prefer things to be strict or a little bit harder if they're gymnastics. And I like legless rope climbs. And then they were seated and then they were shorter than what I had practiced. And I had went up and did my first, came back down, and I was like, all right, I actually feel pretty good. Went up again, came back down. And then again, my party trick or my best movement is strict handstand push-ups. And in practice, I easily did those unbroken. So I hop up on the wall, and at this point I'm in 3rd. I think it was Alex, and I'm not sure who else was on the wall before me. And I was at 12 or 11, and I heard like Alex and whoever else, it was Bethany, both resting. Let's see who will hop back on the wall first. And in my mind, I was like, all right, let's still play it safe here. Let's get off the wall, and then we'll finish up with 8 so you can get back onto the rope and not have any any errors come here, because a no rep on the ropes would have been detrimental, because all you can do is just wait. So I did my 8 again pretty easily. And then it was me and Alex were the first ones to the rope. And then I just kind of waited to see what she did, which again, like, what am I doing? And she went up, and then I went up, and then she went up again, and then I went up again. And then that's my one only regret, is because I had to play it safe, and I wanted to just make sure I needed to do enough to stay within that group. And I would have known I would have been a top 10 finish, I'm sure, in that event.
Yeah, and I think going in, my strategy was like, okay, maybe play it a little bit smart. Like, don't go full silly, because you're right. If you get no rep on one rope, then, well, now you have to do 3 on the way back. And that's, the time you have to rest, that can add minutes. So it was kind of stay calm and stay cool and just ride below that thresh line. And then, yeah. And that's kind of what I did.
And I'm not going to lie, the pirouettes took a little more out of my shoulders than it did in training. So that kind of threw me a little bit of a curveball, but I don't think it was one that would have made a great difference. It affected me a little bit on the handstand push-ups, which was fine. It was that was such a minimal amount of reps. So I wasn't worried about that. But then on my final rope climb, so on the second set, on my final one, you get up, touch it, come down, come down, come down, and my hands are like this, but the line is like, it would be like right here, like right through that knuckle. So I like looked back at my judges, like, and I could see him looking at me. So then I shouldn't be putting my hands like this. I had about this much room between my hands. So I like looked at him, and then I just did that. So then I was fully below the line. I was like, I look back, I'm still up. I say, good. He says, good. I drop, no rep. I was like, why no rep? He said, you can't shuffle your hands below the line. And I was like, okay, that makes no sense, because then how would you get your hands below the line? You can shuffle your hands below the line all you want, as long as you have control. And that was made very clear to us. Like, as long as you don't slide, you're good. And head judge walks over. So I was like, all right, I'm thinking I'm going to get it back, because I've seen it done twice now. I'm like, all right, I'm going to get this back. We'll be all right. He's like, what happened? And he goes, oh, he slid down. I was like, bro.
Once again, it was just fine. It was just okay. I didn't do anything great. I didn't do anything terrible. It just wasn't good. It was just, I really didn't feel like I had much push. A very common theme for me over the weekend. My rope climbs were great, though that's kind of my thing. That was like the best part of it. Just felt like tired and sluggish and just a little bit bleh. So I finished it, and I was like, once again, just fine.
Pirouette handstand walks. That was a little bit of my, God, they were harder than I thought they were going to be. Like, I'm pretty decent on my hands, but something about, like, our lanes were tiny, man. You couldn't, they were pretty narrow. I forgot. I think I might have failed once on the way down. Maybe not at all, but I think I broke once, which was the plan. So I'm like, okay, we're good. Like, we're at the top with the guys. You're not going to win this event, but if you're top half, like, that's great. And I get to the rope climbs, and I felt good about the rope climbs. Like, everyone was kind of, I think, and that was another thing. People thought they were so much harder. For me, they were easier, because we didn't have to climb as high. Like, you don't have to go as high. I break up the handstand push-ups knowing that that's the bottleneck for me. You feel good on your first set. You want to keep going, but it's not the move. I stuck with sets of 5. Ideally, I would love to have done them faster, but for me, like, once again, overhead pressing, not strong suit. So once again, I strategized it well, knew when I was going to do 5s. And then it was on the rope climbs coming back. I think I did 1, come down, about to do my second. I'm feeling good. And as I'm coming down right by the rope, I kind of miss the rope, and it causes me to kind of jerk, and I kind of fall when my hands aren't underneath it quite, but I kind of grabbed it right at the moment. It was an iffy call. She could have given it to me, but also, like, it could have went either way. And I'm just looking at her. She's looking at me, and she goes, no rep. And I'm like, and once again, that was the moment in the workout. I was like, it's over. And like,
Matt and Logan, going into Event 6, knew this was the end of their season, and they were just trying to put their best foot forward.
Like, I'm just going to show up and do one more.
Even like before the weekend, I knew this was probably going to be my good ones, because it wasn't straight power. It was kind of like aerobic power. And I'm like, that's kind of a good wheelhouse for me. So what I did, I pushed it forward, and when I pushed the bag, when I picked it up, my feet were on the line. And so in the moment I pick it up and I run halfway, and then my judge is like, hey, no rep, you got to come back. And once again, that was the moment I'm like, wow, it just gets worse. It just can't get any better.
But I walked off the floor, and I wasn't necessarily like in bad spirits. Doesn't mean I didn't have some pity donuts and beer, but
At the conclusion of the event, the two did some self-reflection. One, trying to spin a positive on this season to move into next. The other, considering this might be the end of the road.
Would I have liked to have made the games this year? Yes. Did I? No. There's next year. I still enjoy this. Like, I like training more than I like competing. So at dinner that night, it was me, my mom, my dad, and my fiance, and had a pretty good conversation with my dad. And it was definitely something I needed to hear. I mean, we started out like, hey, dude, like, you are so much better than you were last year. Physically, for sure, but mentally, big time. One of the Mayhem coaches came over. He's like, dude, like, you could not have handled that better. He's like, you've been a champ. He's like, that you should be proud. If you're not proud of anything this weekend, which you have a lot to be proud of, he's like, be proud of that. So just the physical and mental growth in the last year, like being able to sit back and reflect on that was good.
You have since announced that you are hanging up the Nanos, the Metcons, whatever shoes you wear, and you're calling it a career. Did you know that at any point during the weekend, or was this a decision that you made after?
I think the thought of it was floating in there. I think the mindset was like, hey, if you don't make it to the games this year, maybe it's time. But it wasn't like set in stone. I think obviously, and we had to make it, obviously my wife being a therapist, made it a priority to like, hey, we're going to dissect this weekend. We're going to think. We're not going to make any rash decisions on emotions. Like, so there's a lot of balancing of how I thought I felt and then what I actually feel. My body in competition that weekend just felt like shock. But just in the sport of CrossFit, it takes, man. It takes a lot. Obviously mentally, physically, but as in like financially. Obviously, I left my job this past year to pursue this, but hoping that maybe opportunities would come to help support this lifestyle for maybe a few more years, but they didn't come. And so I saved up some money to do this, and I started getting to the end of that savings with no other income coming in. And so it was like, was I pressured by that a little bit? Yeah. Like, you got to survive. That was a big indicator of like, I've put our life on hold enough. And if there was a potential of having a career in CrossFit to help live me and Abigail's lives the way we wanted while still doing it, that would have been obviously perfect, the dream, but it wasn't. Sponsorships didn't come. It's a whole nother story. It's fine. But I was just tired of CrossFit taking, and from me and Abigail, and I know the toll it had on her.
We wish Logan all the best getting ready for next season, and we wish Matt the best in wherever his career takes him. Sydney Michalyshen knew going into the final event she needed a home run and a lot of help.
I did. I knew that it was possible. I knew that it really was. And my goal was to just like go out there and give it my all. And I was going to try and beat my practice time. Like kind of, I had nothing to lose at this point. So I kind of went into it like, okay, if I blow up, I blow up. But if I don't, I potentially win the workout and we'll see what happens. So I definitely went into it with a much more aggressive approach.
At the conclusion of the event, Sydney fell short.
After I finished it, I was very proud of my effort, obviously all weekend long. For me, the result and the effort it's not the same. So like what someone would see as like a very mediocre performance, for me, the effort was always my best at all times. So I was very disappointed. I knew that I didn't win the event. I didn't even come like very close to it. So I knew that I didn't get the spot, but my effort was always there. So yeah, I was very upset, but I was okay with it.
Yeah, Sid's awesome. She is a bright light in any room that she walks into, and it's hard to not want her to be a part of your group or your space wherever you're at. What was so interesting about this result for Sid, when you see something just not line up so well, is Sid is the ladder. She is the person that when we know events ahead of time, how she trains them is how they perform on the floor. So when there was such a misalignment from how they were tested and trained in practice and training at the gym versus what happened on the floor, we had to step back and take a look at what could have been the thing that did this. And we had a full day conversation, and we wrote every single combination of things that could have possibly went wrong on a board, and we addressed them all. We identified some things that were inside of our control, and we also identified some things that were outside of our control. But just when you have such a misalignment, and I hate to use the word, of expectations for someone who, had she performed those tests in person the way that we practice them, we would not be having this conversation right now.
The number one big thing is I'm never going to let running be a weakness again. Me not having a third gear, me not feeling like myself doesn't happen again, because I know what it feels like to be able to push, to be able to give that max effort, to go to that place. And it's not a great feeling when you feel like you don't have it when you need it. So just kind of learning why that happened and then making sure that I have that gear when I need it the most. So yeah, definitely learned a lot about that.
The silver lining to the season was that Sydney got invited to be on the demo team, a great place to learn and grow as a young athlete, to put her best foot forward going into next season. Good luck on the demo team, Sid. Emily Rolfe came into the final event knowing she had a pretty good shot at locking up that ticket to the CrossFit Games. Not only did she come into that event in a strong position, but knew this event was very, very good for her.
I knew I could win that workout. Like, looking at the weekend, Kyle and I looked at it before I competed, and he's like, you can win 3 workouts. The first one, this one, the last one, and then the snatch and run. I knew that, yeah, you're right. Like, I'm good on the bike. I'm fast at toe to bar. And the sandbag was kind of just grunt work. It wasn't like I was going to struggle lifting it up or anything. So
Emily not only does well in the final event, she wins it and locks up that ticket to the 2023 NOBULL CrossFit Games.
Congratulations, Emily. You punched your ticket to the games. I'm going to start calling you the closer because Sundays are Emily's day.
Sunday, yeah. I don't know why I put this much pressure on myself. It's just, I mean, it could have been the order of the events too, but apparently I like to leave a nail biter to the end.
So what does this mean to you after last year, getting your games cut short, the long haul back, and punching your ticket to get back there again?
Yeah, it's huge. I mean, not only withdrawing from the games, but having surgery, being injured, having to rehab that, come back, and even just like the mental, the confidence to be able to do everything again is like, it's huge to come back and be able to go to the games.
We're putting in a proposal that every day is Sunday at the games.
Every day is Sunday. Sure.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
I knew what pace to hold on the bike, and I kind of just did that. I had my, I want to say blinders off. I had like watching my peripheries, knowing where the other girls were. And I would say after the first round, I kind of knew that I would be fine. And then
you said kind of be safe, but you win the event. Like at some point during that event, you knew that it was your event to win.
Yeah, I would say after the first round, I knew that the girls that I had to beat, I was going to beat. So I wasn't worried, I would say at that point, about like making the games. And then I was just like, oh, I want to win the event. And then when I did, it was such a good feeling because I knew, you know how long it takes for them to tabulate the scores. And it's the worst when you're like, oh, I don't know if I did enough. You're standing there for like, it feels like half an hour. I don't know how long it is, but it feels like forever. And it's the worst when you don't know. So it's like the fact that I was able to win that event and like solidify, like I was confident, knowing where I'd end up. That was a nice feeling. I mean, it's great when you finish the comp and you're like finishing on a high note, like you feel good, you're happy the next week, like it's really good. But once you start like everything's wiped clean again. So it doesn't really make a difference, to be honest. But it is nice to go into the games knowing that I didn't just squeak in. I mean, I guess that's a good feeling, but.
Coming into the last event, Kelly had a pretty good lead and cushion on that final spot for the CrossFit Games.
No, I thought this was going to be my best event. And it's just funny, like my coach, Tristan, before I walked out, he's like, you're making games. Unless there's a catastrophe that happens, you're making games. Like, let's be confident. It's like the final word someone says to you, it's like, oh God. And when I did drop the bag, I was like, oh God, fuck.
So event 7, when I lost like a day off my life. I was just like, damn. Like, I couldn't be mad. Like, it's just, that's just sports, right?
Right.
And she fell and I was like, fuck. And she got up and she picked it up quick and got across the line.
So let's pick it up and let's just start. Let's move as fast as we can. And I was out the freaking gates. But it just, yeah, my feet were too slow compared to what my upper body, I guess, was doing or something. And I felt like it was going to happen, but I thought I might be able to still hang on long enough to just fall into my start mat. Yeah. So when I finished, there's so much time before they're going to announce who's the top 10. So sitting like in a squat on my start mat, just thinking like, please God, like this can't be the way that this ends. And Hattie came up to me. I don't know how they let her, but she ended up coming up over to my start mat and she like hugged me and she was like, no matter the outcome. Cause I was like, Hattie, this can't be the way it ends. I was preparing myself for all of these like things that it wasn't going to happen. And then obviously like it worked out in my favor. But
And with that, Kelly Baker is going to the 2023 NOBULL CrossFit Games.
Oh my goodness. Did you have to give us all a heart attack in that last event?
Yeah, I'm still like reliving it in my brain. That was a nightmare, but I'm just grateful I got in.
You did enough in event 6 that you had a point buffer enough to keep it, to get you in. And
yeah, that was, my mom's gonna have a heart attack. I had no idea too. Like I think a lot of times you have a little idea, like a coach will be like, I think you're in or something. I was waiting for them to say someone else's name.
we're very proud of you this weekend. Got some more time to put some more training under the belt. Yeah. And we're gonna see you at the games.
Thank you.
Good job.
For Emily and Kelly, this journey has one more stop, and we'll be following them live at the 2023 NOBULL CrossFit Games.